This posting is portion of a collection by industry experts in support of the ATL Tinkering Innovation Marathon, organized by ATL Innovation Mission, NITI AAYOG and the Superior India. Study much more about the marathon listed here. In the present Indian agricultural circumstance, last-mile connectivity is a major challenge. This desires to be corrected urgently, mainly because extension solutions are a lot needed prerequisite for farmers who are the backbone of our state, says Naveen Kumar, whose innovative mobile application, Nepanta, is aiding in excess of 1 lakh farmers across the state improve their crop generate with an all-encompassing agri-encyclopedia. He adds, the gaps in the federal government extension procedure are occupied by dealers and distributors, or the intermediaries who are current in every single corner of India. Mainly because of their commercially oriented involvement, the farmer bears the most brunt in terms of revenue as effectively as productivity. This form of undesired procedure has been impacting India's GDP in rather a drastic fashion. This sector's contribution to the GDP is roughly about 60-70 for each cent, and this also contains agro-dependent industries. On its individual, the core agriculture field contributes to about 30 for each cent. Visualize how a lot increased this contribution could be if the last-mile connectivity is also realized. Promotion, electronic penetration and smartphone access have performed a substantial job in supporting farmers. These days, shut to 90 for each cent of farmers are working with smartphones or element phones, and worldwide web prices are a lot reduced in contrast to before times. Even access is rather uncomplicated. Naveen Kumar with a farmer. So, through the utilization of these tech-included provisions, it has developed into achievable to get to the conclude farmers and give them agro-advisory and customized options. Devoid of going the added mile, tech firms can support deliver down nearly 50 for each cent of expenses and expenditure that would or else be used by farmers less than typical marketplace norms. At the very same time, proper advisory can increase 20 for each cent of farmers' productivity, and the distance factor, when sorted, can influence nearly 35 for each cent of the productivity, and that way too, with no the implementation of any kind of innovation. It is the agriculture sector that principally drives India's economic climate, and irrespective of suffering from poverty, farmers are fundamentally the cogs in the wheels that feed the nation. But as Naveen mentions, several roadblocks like last-mile connectivity, scientific information, climate-appropriate farming techniques and farming gear can be resolved through best utilization of technological innovation in an field like agriculture. In current moments, there has been a surge of agri-tech enterprises that perform an vital job in supporting farmers across the state through a wide variety of solutions and provisions. Innovation is very important, irrespective of which area or sector it has been used way to, and technological interventions are surely what India owes its farmers. Mobile purposes need to have not be the only intervention when it arrives to agri-tech. In current moments, the utilization of social media platforms like F-Flat and WhatsApp by farmers and agri-business people to market their create and value-included products and solutions are getting to be much more and much more prevalent. So how specifically can these platforms bridge the hole amongst farmers and buyers? Sharing insight about social media intervention in the agrarian sector as Chamrajnagar dependent engineer turned natural farmer and entrepreneur, C.V. Srinidhi, whose organization design only rests on WhatsApp and particular person-to-particular person interaction. C.V. Srinidhi, appropriate. The system is maybe one of the best methods to marketplace any merchandise. Contrary to the typical strategies listed here, one can directly cater to shoppers, both through direct messages or broadcast groups. There is ease of interaction for not just inserting orders but also to coordinate and stick to up on deliveries. There are several mobile purposes out there these days to support farmers, but I come to feel that people today in rural regions nonetheless absence recognition about agri-tech intervention. Even so, one can't say people today are totally oblivious to the World Wide Web or social media traits, as applications like TikTok are rather well known even in the rural side, with almost every single family possessing at least one smartphone. I do come to feel that agri-tech interventions, be it mobile applications or internet marketing through social media, will be picked up quickly. If farmers can utilize platforms that guideline them through much more sustainable farming techniques and supply them with handy information and facts about, say, crop health and fitness or ideal climate disorders, factors can appreciably modify. Consciousness in excess of these improvements is important, even though When tech interventions have surely solved my interaction and internet marketing features, one spot that I'm nonetheless struggling with is transportation. Considering the fact that I personally make door-to-door deliveries, it gets tiresome and relatively high-priced. If there had been tech-dependent interventions to solve this condition, several farmers, like myself, would surely preserve a large amount of revenue, he adds. Like Srinidhi, G. Sriram Prasad is also an engineer, who is dependent out of Coimbatore. Even so, for his foray into the agri-tech sector, he took the e-commerce route. By his undertaking, Keerai Kadai, in which he sells fresh, indigenous greens, Sriram is supplying a nutritious eating culture to his shoppers whilst providing improved livelihoods for farmers operating with him. The agricultural sector has, with no question, witnessed a growth in the last couple of a long time, and this is not just from the purview of farmers but buyers as effectively. More and much more people today are getting to be aware of foods adulterations and want to know in which their foods is coming from and how it is grown. But this is not achievable if they have to get veggies or fruits from area markets. There is also this shift in city households, and families seldom find the time to head to the marketplace. Allow on your own examine the greens like our mother and father utilized to do. Sriram Prasad with a farmer. How does our intervention support? We allow our shoppers get farm fresh greens a working day ahead of on our site, like every single other e-commerce web page. The farmers who work with us receive alerts through WhatsApp, and any one of them who has the required offer will accept the get and hold the necessary harvest prepared by the upcoming working day, that is sent by our staff members. The tech intervention keeps both of those shoppers as effectively as farmers pleased, all the whilst cutting down wastage of time, efforts and most importantly, create. More than buyers, these interventions conclude up bettering the lives of farmers. We surveyed the farmers' expenditures and discovered that in excess of 30 for each cent of the value of their create goes into logistics. In our circumstance, we rule out that expenditure, so that indicates doubles their cost savings, whilst also preserving time. Identical tech-dependent interventions can go an extended way in alleviating farmers across the state, adds Sriram. Given the electronic penetration in almost all sectors across India, the integration of tech-dependent options undoubtedly retains a massive scope for the agrarian field. When innovation is central to propel modify, the fact that real-time application of the very same can only occur if it is accessible and inexpensive desires to be rather critically deemed. Naveen adds on to this aspect. A substantial worry one has to hold in thoughts is that nearly 80 for each cent of the farmer populace contains compact and marginal farmers, who may or may not be adept with technological innovation. So, it is critical for any revolutionary plan to include value to farmers' lives and livelihoods, and you must believe about this ahead of heading out to support them with tech-dependent interventions. You may also like, this state's solutions could be the response farmers across India are hunting for. For instance, you simply cannot come up with an amazing IoT World Wide Web of Matters gadget that you come to feel will relieve the lives of farmers, but market it for an exorbitant value. You need to have to realize the audience you have designed the innovation for and their monetary restrictions. You need to have to collect information and facts on these features ahead of you commence something. Feel about it. If I am going to produce a big facts analytics and my intended customers are farmers dependent in a remote village who have to pay back countless numbers of rupees to avail the solutions, the intervention serves no purpose listed here. So, variables like value addition to the cause, low price options and swift marketplace penetration are vital for agri-tech interventions in India to steer the agrarian economic climate forward, he concludes. It is improvements like these that ATL Tinkering Innovation Marathon aims to produce by giving young innovators a system to get their tips to products and solutions and support solve issues in unique fields from agriculture and infrastructure, to environmental conservation and waste management. Know much more about the ATL Tinkering Innovation Marathon listed here. Edited by Gayatri Mishra. Like this story? Or have something to share? Publish to us, make contact with @thebetterindia.com. Hook up with us on F-Flat and Twitter promotion resource hyperlink World Wide Web Internet Marketing Suggestions.